Sood is with us, fund manager, InCred Asset Management. Aditya, good to have you with us here. Thanks very much for joining us. So we are now sort of coming to a close with the earnings season, Aditya. Across your portfolio companies, what has done very well, what has done poorly, sort of left you wanting for more? Just give us a sense.
Sure. So I think so broadly the sense is that, last 12 months we have been in a very, very tepid return environment. And whatever you did in the portfolio, it is not leading to any meaningful returns for investors. But this is the nature of the market. And I do believe that we are at a very, very interesting juncture because on one hand, you have seen, the risk-free rate practically collapsing in India. The risk premium within emerging markets that India has also collapsed. This is a perfect recipe for multiple expansion going forward. The first port of call was that, obviously money moved out of the US, it went to cheaper markets, particularly Europe. I think so it is only a matter of time wherein we see earnings recovering. There have been 7 consecutive quarters wherein small and mid-cap earnings have disappointed. And this is the first quarter wherein we are witnessing in certain areas wherein earnings have started to improve meaningfully. The only thing is that, people were not very focused on this kind of stock picking because the market was focused on either growth at reasonable price or reasonable certainty in terms of earnings. So, what we have seen, Yatra being an example, it is a holding for us. Sangvi Movers is another company which reported, excellent sort of earnings. I think so. If you are very, very focused on value as a strategy, although I must confess that, the pockets of value are not, I mean to say it would be very difficult to find, 200 stocks. But for a PMS, for people like us, whether we can identify enough value in terms of, value unlocking going forward in terms of catalyst. We own this wonderful company known as Chola Holding. I've been holding that company for the last 5 years. There is a promoter settlement which is going to happen at some point in time. Religare obviously is another case in point wherein I don't see any sort of, hitch now. They will appoint a new CEO. The capitalization has already happened. 3-year returns are 0. So I think so there is enough and more to focus on in this sort of environment. Even if we get, next 3 to 6 months of very, very tepid growth and troubled investing industries, for example, today, seafood seems to be a very, very troubled, sort of a pocket. Avanti Feeds, somebody like that, or garments, for example. I'm sure you will have, at some point in time, these pockets will have value of opportunity coming through.
Just to confirm, Yatra, Sangvi Movers, Chola Investment, Religare, these are a part of your portfolio.
Yeah. All these.
And you're looking for opportunities in in sectors like textiles and shrimps. Do you own any stocks?
No, we don't, but we are watching it very, very carefully because, if you are a value investor and if you have seen these companies, tanking by 50-60%, and obviously there is enough and more confusion on the tariff side and on the trade side as well. I think so these could be really very good opportunities because Avanti Feeds, the stock price has not gone anywhere for the last 7 years, essentially, right? So the real question to ask yourself is that, at some point in time, whether these companies will present opportunities. So we like this construct of, 3, 5, 7 years of 0 return, but obviously then we should be convinced that something is changing. For example, in the case of Yatra, we were very, very simplistically, we figured out that the market capitalization when we bought it was 1400 odd crores. And when we bought the stock went down, basically, we were in a position to figure out that this is a company which can do 100 crore sort of a PAT in FY 27-28. And it was the cheapest internet stock to buy. Even today, the market capitalization is only 1800 crores. Right. So it is a very, very, once I look at, Make My Trip, which is obviously listed on NASDAQ, and I do a compare and contrast. And Yatra business, the kind of pivot that they have made, they are trying to, I think so 15-20 crores of saving will come from the structure that they have on the NASDAQ. So that plus the capital allocation getting better, would lead to, sizable returns over a period of time.
Yatra locked in 20% circuit. What a move today, really. Incredible. Aditya, hi. Good to have you on the show this afternoon. Anything interesting on your radar that you found worthwhile in the primary markets? So many issues, right? So many. We just spoke to one today, Bluestone today. I mean, they're in the right space. Discretionary spends, jewelry. It's done really well for a lot of the other jewelry retailers. Kalyan, even this quarter, 30% growth. But the stock sold off. That's a different point. But you tell us, anything interesting in IPOs?
See, we are not an IPO house. Our framework has been that, character of management doesn't get tested. It only gets tested in adversity. So in a bull market, if IPO is happening, it is very difficult to judge a character of management. Our view also is that, you have had these, for example, Bluestone, they have an institutional investor, which is a fairly large sovereign wealth fund, who has already invested. So one of the things that we do at InCred is that, we also have a private equity fund. We have a, credit fund. So we try to leverage that strength in terms of looking at companies very early. But most of these companies, our simple guess is that, they are overpriced. What is your probability of making money in the last leg? And even if the portfolio is, even if the stock is chased by most, you won't get allocation. Right. So our view is that, it is better to stay on the sideline. In fact, what we do like is that, there are many IPOs which happen. So they become, out of sight, out of mind. I can give you a name, for example, Brainbees, right, which is First Cry. Right. If you look at the stock price chart, it is halved, and it has all happened in the last 6 months. Right.
So find that interesting.
Yeah, we find that interesting simply because, if I have to just value the domestic business today, right, and not value the overseas business wherein they are losing money, and the 800 crore that they fund that they run, like, InfoEdge, basically in the business, I can pretty much justify the option value, and it is like 3 times GMV, right? So 3 times GMV, which was like 6 times GMV going into IPO, I believe that it is a neglected stock today. So we are doing some work. We don't own it, but I can give you enough and more examples wherein, this always happens, post IPOs. Yatra is an example. For example, Yatra got IPO'd, and then, immediately there were no takers in the name.
Yeah, looking for value in the forgotten spaces. That's the mantra. Got it. Good conversation. Thank you so much for joining in. Appreciate your views on the show. So that's a call coming in from InCred, but